All right. Welcome, everyone. It's 5:32. Another Monday night. Another special workshop meeting. I think tonight is number 5. Yes. On my scorecard, I've got number 5. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome to those that are in the audience and those that are live streamed tonight. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. In my capacity as mayor, I'm going to establish some ground rules tonight that hopefully we will abide to them. Over the past few weeks, we've had a lot of heated conversations. I want to remind everybody, especially every board member, that we may agree, we may disagree, but we're professionals. We need to practice civility and respect each other, not talk over each other, not demean each other, not talk down or past each other. And that includes those in the audience. We are professionals. We need to conduct ourselves in a professional manner. I don't like using the gavel, but I will if that's what needs to happen tonight. We've got some hard decisions. There's going to be disagreement. But at the end of the day, we've got to make a decision. I hope everyone's in agreement. I will recognize each board member if they want to speak, but it will be one at a time. That's all I'm asking. All right, before Brittany comes up, let's go over how we got where we are. It's time for some transparency and some information to be shared. Our budget process timeline, we started on February 6th with a special budget meeting. We continued at the board retreat March 6th. March 26th, we had a special legislative delegation meeting. April 30th, the proposed $22.5 million budget was presented, and I'll get to that. That's the part that needs to be explained. May 11th, we had our first budget workshop. May 18th, we had the second one. June 1st, we had number 3. Last Monday, we had number 4, along with the public hearing, which is required for budget adoption. Tonight, it's workshop number 5, and I do not believe, in fact, I'm pretty confident, we will not adopt this budget tonight. Because to be honest with you, we're not there yet. We're just flat not there. The hard timeline is next Monday, and that's June 22nd. There'll be another special meeting, hopefully the last one. We have 2 weeks left from tonight to adopt an operating budget. Even though the public hearing has been held, this special meeting tonight, we do not have public comments. Before this budget is adopted, I will put an agenda item on for public comments. It's only right, it's only fair, and it's transparent. So that will be June 22nd, if we adopt that night. If not, it'll be June 29th. But we're gonna get it right or get as close to right as we can. And that's what we're gonna talk about tonight. There may be some tough decisions, but as long as we have a respectful conversation. Before April 30th, this board, our board, your board, the directive to the town manager and the former finance director, yeah, that's the slide, was to present to this board a balanced budget at 48 cents. That was the directive. Now, bear in mind that the city of Fayetteville has a 3-cent property tax increase included in their budget, along with a 4% COLA. Cumberland County has no property tax increase. They have a 2% COLA. Spring Lake has no property tax increase, 2.5% COLA. Our 48-cent balanced budget came in with a 1.5 COLA and a 2.5 merit. It also came in with $423,500 from fund balance, $653,000 from ARPA, and a bunch of unfunded cuts on that board. And I'll call them unfunded because it's what they are. It took me a while to figure this out, along with some conferences with the town manager and Brittany, our new finance director. So I want to talk about the police positions first. I wanted to know where these police positions were frozen. This budget, to begin with, has them completely funded, all 59 positions, all of them. So how are they frozen? And why do we need to make up that gap? What is it, 607, I think? So I start to peel the onion, and then I figure it out, but I had to get it validated. That we were going to lose, or at least I was told we were losing, this board was, that we were going to lose 5 positions over the next 3 to 4 months. That means 5 positions, folks go other places, and they were not going to be refilled or rehired, maybe that's the better word. Okay? So let's say that a couple of them leave in August or September. Does that make up the $607,000? The budget was presented on April 30th. The truth about it is, the budget was presented on April 30th minus 5 police officers to balance it. So here I am looking for $607,000. Like, where in the world in this budget is it missing? So the simple part of this is, on the front end, they're already in the budget. Well, then why are they in the red on that wall? Simple question. I mean, I'm a department chair for business administration at the college. I teach business, and budgets are in my wheelhouse. So when the numbers don't add up, I'm going to start looking for why they don't add up. The simple truth is, so I asked this question, what if the 5 do not leave the police department? Wait a minute. Oh, that's a whole different story. Then it's going to require a budget amendment in May to pay for them in that amount, or something close to that amount. Now I want to say this clearly. A budget amendment in May on the back end, if they all stay here. If they leave, well, then we don't rehire them, then that salary lag will balance this budget along with $243,000 stormwater. The quick of it is the 48-cent balanced budget came to us with about $650 out, unfunded or moved. So if all 5 officers stayed and we got this budget amendment in May, that's going to be a huge budget amendment, and we're going to get slapped from the state auditor just like we did on this last one for doing the very same thing. Except it's not on front end, it's on back end. So minimum, and I'm going to have to rip the Band-Aid off because, folks, it's going to be a property tax increase. It is. The answer is going to be, what's the cent? Is it going to be 3, 4, 5, 6? We had a former finance director leave here, recommended a 6-cent property tax increase. Last budget workshop, our current finance director recommended the same thing. Because we've got to make up about $600 and some thousand. 243 was moved out of the general fund into streets and power bill. Well, about 58,000 of that cannot go into power bill. That is to come back. And I think, Brittany, that's in your budget tonight, move back. So you can't have that. That's not going to work. This budget also didn't have $30,000 for our grant writer. It also didn't have any funding to start repaying the $1.2 million back to the general fund. Didn't have that either. But the decision of this board was to tell the finance director and the town manager to bring us a balanced budget at 48 cents. And that's what they did. Minus police officers, stormwater, grant writer, 1.2 repayment plan. Minus all that. That's the way they balanced it at 48. This has been a very stressful budget. I said this the last time, I'll say it again tonight. We have never been this late in June. What you're seeing tonight, Brittany's going to present probably a new budget. I think the Mayor Pro Tem told me we need a new budget.
I did.
We're at workshop number 5, and we need a new budget with 15 days to go. I'm just being as honest and transparent as I can to everybody in this room, whether you're a citizen or a town employee or a board member or a former board member. And I'm trying to hold my composure because there's been some of this where I was so frustrated I wanted to break glass. This is not a good budget. The 48 budget that was presented to us is not sustainable, it's not workable. And honestly, it's unconscionable because we're going to unfund 5 patrol officers. That slide over there is 5 patrol officers. You know, the ones that answer the call, the one that knocks on your door, the one that patrol the streets, the ones that keep us safe. There's also a firefighter position that's included in there too, that's been frozen and unfunded for Years. On one shift, there's minus one firefighter. One. So that's what gets me. Our charter, our compass is public safety. So, it's time to be honest. It's time to play the cards. It's time to put them face up. And it's time to make some decisions. Because we got 15 days to go. But this is how we got here. And I know I'm ripping the Band-Aid off tonight. And I know that what I'm saying is maybe somewhat unpopular. But we're going to fund these positions on the front end. There will be no more budget amendments where the state auditor, Dave Bullock, will come back and say, Mayor, I got you again. And I thank them for what they did. Thank them. Because it tightened up our internal controls. There'll be a presentation about that at 7 o'clock. It tightened us up. It's also making us reflect and look at this budget in a very deep, professional manner that we need to do. Every department in this town has had a tremendous amount of cuts in this budget. It concerns me that if we cut too much to the bone, too deep, that they will not be able to perform their mission, critical, essential task. But I think someone on this board said, I think it might have been you, Commissioner Mitchell, you can't cut yourself out of it, can't cut your way out of this. A lot of what we have here is the result of 12 years without any modest property tax increase. This is, you kick a can down the road until there's no more road. Well, that's where we are. That slide right there is no more road. There were 11 positions requested in this budget. None of them will be filled. None of them. Various amounts of capital vehicles that are desperately needed in the town to continue functions, none of them will be funded either. If you look at this $22.5 million proposed budget, 66% of it is salaries and benefits. Thank you, Brittany. You're right. Dead on right. I knew it was in the 60s, and you did have it on a prior slide. But on the fair side of it, too, we have a police department that's at 53% of this budget. These are real numbers. These are also calling cards for this board after this budget's adopted. It also has $2.2 million worth of professional services and contracts. And the head count of employees is at 162. Thank you, Leanne. So there's your numbers. There's the cards that we're playing on. It's on the table to be played. There they are. So you look at that bottom line up there, and that's what we've got to make up. Unless we don't want 5 police officers, we don't want a firefighter. If we don't want that, then we'll stay at 48. We don't want to continue with Ingrid and the grant writing services that she's doing. And speaking of grant writing, The only funding that is in this budget that's going to be proposed is for her just to finish the reports she's already doing. There will be no grants that require match. We don't have the money. We do not have the money for Ingrid to pay her to go look for grants that require match. We don't have it. Don't eat up those hours because we don't have it. So, a 3-cent property tax increase will bring in $627,000. Average home, $300,000, $90 a month, $90 a year, $750 a month. Brittany went over all of this last time. I'm going over just a little bit of it tonight, just to give her the time, the bandwidth to go over her presentations. 4 cents will bring in $836,000. That will be average home price, $300,000. That'll be an extra $120, sorry, per year, or right at $10 a month. But 4 cents, not take your thunder away, Brittany. 4 cents looks like that's the number. But Brittany's going to present. I asked her this week, and I met with her and Chancellor several times. I asked her to present 3 scenarios to this board, knowing that we're already at 3. There's no way around 3 unless you don't want 5 police officers and a firefighter. Unless you go compromise public safety, we're already at 3. No if, no and, no but. So I said 3.5, which is 3.5 cents, 4 cents, and 4.5 cents. And those are the 3 scenarios that she's going to present. And see just how close we are. See how much more work we need. Because we're not done. Like I said, we're not done. We're not ready to adopt tonight. But I think it's the right thing to do to not only be honest with you, the citizens of our community, but to be honest with the staff and this board. It's not so much about how we got here, we are here now. There is lessons learned. I'll thank Dave Bullock again. We've been at this since, what, February. But we're going to get it right. And the safety of our community is paramount. The recommended COLA for our employees will be 2.5. There will be no merit. But that's up to the board if they adopt the budget with those numbers. That's what's in these 3 scenarios that Brittany's going to share with us. That's pretty much in line with our municipalities around us. All except the city, which has proposed a 3-cent property tax increase. And don't think that, they have a lot of work to do too. They're still back at sharpening of pencils as of today. Mayor Coven had it right. There's been a lot of escalating cost and inflation on everybody in our community. Those who work and those who do not work and are on fixed incomes. And I know them. There's not a one day goes by that I don't hear from a citizen. We heard from a citizen today. An email that will be read at 7, in the 7 o'clock meeting. Our public hearing was here with 21 people that attended it. It's hard to ask more from people that already have empty pockets. That's how personal it feels to me. So I just wanted to share my thoughts. I just wanted to share some transparency. I wanted to share the facts before I asked Brittany to come up and do a presentation. We will adjourn this meeting in probably 50 minutes so we can get ready for the 7 regular meeting. At the 7 meeting, I'm going to ask that an item be added to the regular agenda. It will be item D, discussion. I'll ask the Mayor Pro Tem to make that motion. Item D, discussion of the FY 26-27 budget. We will adjourn this meeting, but we will pick it back up at the 7 o'clock regular meeting and under item D, where we will make some final, hopefully, I think at that point, we'll make some final decisions at the 7 o'clock meeting on what direction we're going to take. And that'll, because Brittany needs a week to get one of these 3 scenarios packaged for budget adoption on the 22nd. That's the deadline. That's where we are. If there's any board member want to say anything before I ask Brittany to come up. Any board member want to say anything about how you feel? Well, maybe feel is the wrong word, but. Okay, Brittany. I've said my piece.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the board. At the board's direction, I did provide the 3 scenarios which I printed out. So I'm hoping that tonight we can identify anything that you may want to change, decrease, or increase. If you notice in the comment section, I did put a justification for each change, and I also indicated by line item if there was a change from the original budget that was received on April 30th. So you can see line by line if there was a change from the original budget, and then hopefully the justification on what it was for. So I know it came out a little bit later in the evening today, but we can go, I have mine, you guys have yours. So if you want to go line by line through it and ask any questions, I think that may be the best utilization of this time.
Brittany, I agree with you. That is exactly why we're here. And that's why if we don't finish going line by line, we will continue on in the 7 p.m. regular meeting. So, everybody's got page 1. It's the revenue page. Is there any questions on page 1?
So the revenues, I'll explain what has changed. The change you see at the top in the ad valorem, the only change you will see is the change as we change from each tax increment revenue situation. There was also a reduction in the ad valorem prior years. It was originally budgeted at $22,000, and I've just started looking at the actual numbers, what we've collected this year, to see if a lot of these revenues are trending where they should be. And that one seems to be an anomaly over the year, so I reduced it. So I became real conservative with the revenues, so we would make sure we have some close to possible numbers. So I did decrease that revenue by $2,000. And then you'll also see the change, as I shared in the last meeting, the vehicle tax, how being ad valorem, that also changes with the tax rate.
So Brittany, just to make sure that if it's a 3.5 cent property tax increase, that will generate $731,500.
At a 3.5, yes, sir.
The 4 cents will generate 836,000, and the 4.5 will generate 940,500. Those are the three numbers based on those tax rates. Okay?
Also on that first page, there was a change to a few of the permitting and fees revenues. And again, I just reviewed what actuals had been collected this year to get more realistic revenue projections. On that second page, you'll see some minimal adjustments to some of our Parks and Recs activities. And I did that based on if it is finally decided, I still think it's being discussed about some of the parks and their programming and how they're gonna move forward. So in the event that we have to cap any activities, that's also gonna cap and impact the revenues projected for those programs. So I was realistic when it came to where I factor in that into those revenues as well.
On page 2, I just wanted to make sure that the board was looking at all the programs being evaluated for capping, because that will definitely reduce revenue estimates.
Those revenue generators, right?
On page 2, under Parks and Rec fees. If programs are eliminated or reduced, so will be the revenue. And it's reflected here in about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Some of them aren't programs, that's my apologies, but I just know that we're gonna look at everything, so.
17 of them.
Yes.
17 of them, LaMarco. Commissioner Hamilton?
On this one, the Parks and Recreation fees comes down to other sports. Is that correct where it says 1?
On which one, I'm sorry?
Other sports, 10, 380, 3829.
It says, I see $1,000 and it was changed to 500.
It was 500 and it was changed to 1,000. What does the 4.5 cent, why does it say, is that 1,000? Okay, that's 1,000. I thought it said 1. Okay. Okay. That answers that question. Thank you.
No problem.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Sorry. For my clarity, just the 25-26 budget, is that what was actually used, or was that projected?
No, that was the adopted budget. Since then, the 25-26 budget has had budget amendments, which changed that bottom line number.
Do we have the I just wondered, do we have the actual amounts that were used for the year from the previous budget that was adopted, that ended June 30th?
So we're still in that, we're
Still in that section?
yes.
Okay.
So we won't have final numbers for June 30 until a few months before, but I do review the actuals through wherever we are at the time. That's why I adjusted some of the revenues and then some of the other expenditure categories. But we'll have those final June 30 numbers, probably August. But to date, I know that there's already been budget amendments. Also on the page that we're on, up under the Parks and Recs revenues, I eliminated, well, not eliminated, but I didn't budget for any miscellaneous revenue. I just feel like every revenue should be classified to something, so I didn't want to budget for something that was miscellaneous, so I just took that out.
Miscellaneous rarely gets explained correctly. It's usually a kitchen sink.
And I think that gets us through the end of the revenues. If we transition to the expenditures, which is the bottom page of the same one we're on, the first department is the governing body. And the change throughout the forthcoming departments, you will see some small changes within the salary and fringe lines, and that is factoring in the 2.5% COLA. Also in the governing body, you see the reduction to the committees, even though I know that's still in the talk, and it may not be an even number per committee, but the request was to reduce it down to 30,000. We'll reduce it by $30,000 down to 10K. So that breaks down to like $1,250 per the 8 committees. And I also eliminated the miscellaneous expense code. Because just like revenues, I believe every expense should be classified somewhere.
So Brittany, just to make sure that we get this clear and in the record, all the committees are going to go from 5,000 to 1,250. Each. Is that correct?
That was the proposal from the board, yes, sir.
So that's a one size fits all. I think we were looking at different amounts. I think we were looking at different amounts for different committees. I didn't know we were looking at one size fits all.
Well, it's not a one size fits all. It's just I wanted to show the actual cut of the 30,000. So I know that they're still trying to figure out how it's going to be, but there's still one pot as proposed, and it's just 10K. So how it's split from there, I just did it evenly for the budget presentation. But however the board decides to split the 10K, the budget will reflect that.
You just made it even and easy. Okay. Discussion by the board. Yep, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
The committees, I feel like it should be one size fits all. Not one committee is better or above the other. And so I'm in agreement with it being $1,250 for each committee. So one size fits all. And then would it be, if me, if I decide that I do not wish to receive a COLA, can that be removed from me? Is that a thing?
I would assume that it would.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments about 1,250? Are we good with 1,250? That's the question on the board. So as we go through this,
And actually, for this year, I think we go with the 1,250 because of the condition that we're presently in. And maybe next year we can reevaluate to see where we're at that time. And at the same time, we can look at the expenditure reports that are submitted by the committees and see what's justified and what is not.
is that the consensus? Anybody opposed to that? Okay. Commissioner Marley.
I can just speak for the committee that I liaison. At their last meeting, they wish to ask the board to reconsider that because they actually have a lot of expenditures, the HPC, and they have a lot of expenditures, and that $1,250 won't really cover what they need done. And I hate to pull from another committee, but at the same time, I mean, they're very active. All the committees are active, but they're active, and they have several items that they budget for every year, and it'll well exceed that money. So how do we address that during the year?
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Mitchell.
I think that this is the time when we're asking all committees to just pump the brakes for this time. We don't want to make a minimum sacrifice for this 1 year. I mean, sure, we can get past this 1 year, and then that's next year budget season, we can reevaluate to see where we at. But I think right now, it's like I said earlier, everybody got to get some. So, and I know the Historical Preservation Committee has been actively involved in the community, and they have actually did well budget-wise, you know. with the things they've done, but we ask them to, just like a one-time shot, that we're asking everybody to just make the sacrifice so that we can get some clarity and see where we at, so that we can have better vision when we start this budget process next year.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, there it is. The one, and I'll go back and address something Commissioner Marley said. The one thing that we're trying to prevent is budget amendments. We don't want to get way down the road, and then there's something that one of the committees needs. It's not a want, it's a have to have. So I appreciate what you're saying about one size fits all, but I just also want to be mindful that, that some of the committees may need more than a 1250. Only because of the uniqueness of the committee. Only because of that. But if the consensus of the board is to stay at 1250, that's what we shall do. Well, no consensus, as long as I got the consensus, everybody's good? All right, I have a motion that we stay at 1250. I'll just call for the vote.
Motion to stay at 1250.
Second? Okay, discussion? Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 4? Are you in favor? All right. Commissioner Marley, that's a no?
I got to support my committee,
That's understandable.
so mine would be a no on that.
Okay. That's on the record, okay?
And throughout, as we review some of the other committees, you'll see that there's additional reductions to like department supplies. That's probably one of the main ones that I went back and kind of retouched. So if you see anything additional in that category as well, because that's going to be a repetitive line item. So if you want to revisit that, for the governing board, the proposed budget was the 5,400, and I reduced that by 1,000 to 4,400.
Okay.
For administration, you see the change due to the 2.5% COLA. And then here is where you see the consultant contract added. And then another reduction to the department supplies. For human resources and finance, we see that it's the impact of the 2.5% COLA and then reduction to department supplies.
Board have any questions about administration, that section? As we go, we'll pause it through each section, Brittany.
Yes.
Just to ask just to see if there's any questions or clarity. This is on the second page. At the bottom is HR. If there's no questions about either one of these two, we'll move on to page 3. Okay? Your department.
Yes, so finance was the same, just a reduction to the, well, you see the increase due to the COLA and then a reduction in department supplies. I was also looking at this tax listings and collections line. I'm unsure if that's gonna increase as we go through maybe more revenue collections when it comes to taxes. I kept it steady throughout the scenarios, but right now we're trending more on the higher end, which is why I increased it by $2,000. Or that's what I'm proposing, but I didn't factor that in just in case we wanted to keep it at the manager's recommendation. But just looking at where we are now, until I can figure out how that is calculated, I wasn't sure what to do. So right now, I looked at our numbers of what we paid this year, and I can see that we're gonna be over that 102. The next department is our legal services. There's no change there.
No change, Dan? Okay.
And our planning and economic development is the next section.
The only change there is a reduction in department supplies?
Yes. And I couldn't reduce it by too much. They only had like $2,000. Next one is the public buildings and grounds. It continues on to the next page. You may have to flip it.
Any questions about the first part, public buildings and grounds, before we get to Public Works Director? Okay, the only reduction there was department supplies in that box. Public Works Director? It's the very same thing. Just a reduction in department supplies. Next section, service garage. Again, the only reduction, department supplies.
Mayor, I have a question.
Okay?
Are we looking at, this Service Garage Police Department? Is that the one we're looking at? There was a change for contract services for $68,000 in there. I had previously looked at all the contracts, I think we talked about that, for the police department, and I asked the chief about Axon and social media. Those were the two questions that I had, because I don't know anything about the police department, of course. And he explained that they were critical, those two were critical to his department. And we talked about the other ones, and he said they were all critical to his department. So why are we, why is there $68,000 in
So
contract services?
we're still on the service garage unless everyone's okay to proceed to police, because I think you're in the police department budget.
I am, but when I see service garage,
Police is right under that one.
right. I
Did
don't-
you have,
Okay, I got it. I see what you're saying.
did you have any comments about service garage? Okay, so now we're in police department on the next page, at the top of the next page.
Yeah, I just didn't see
Okay.
the supply, reduction in supplies on that one, but that's okay.
For the service garage, so there is one, they also had a $500 decrease.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so back to the police department, department supplies, $2,000, and the contract services are $68,000. Because there were only two that we had actually looked at that I had questions on, and I asked the chief if the rest of them were critical, and he said yes. So I just don't understand why we come up with $68,000 on that.
Well, I think everything in the police department is critical, but as one of the largest departments, if we have to make cuts, I think when it was considered, Chancellor, if you want to step in, it was contracts that were for the new year that we haven't used prior. So we're hoping that the police can still carry out their critical, essential needs based on the same contracts that got us through this year. So we're just asking that we not proceed with at least $68,000 of those requests.
I will chime in. That was specifically my focus. I looked at the specific contracts that actually were new contracts beginning to start. And if we're basically looking at what they can, what's mission critical tied to current services, if these are new services, are those services things that we could go without for another year or two? And that was the basis for considering those particular cuts.
Did anybody ask the chief?
Well, I did explain to Chief there were 5 specific contracts. I can go into the specifics on each one. Naturally, he's going to say that there are mission critical. I guess y'all can hear from him if you would like, but I just explained the basis behind myself and Mr. McLaurin's recommendation. Thank you.
I'd like to hear what he has to say, if I could.
You know, okay.
Okay? Chief?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, I can go one by one. So the first contract is the S3 contract. It's the heat mapping system for $2,786.
That's new because we didn't have a server up until January, so we haven't had that contract. And I think, is there another one, Force something or other?
Yeah, I'll just go through each one when you explain. There's a Force Metrics one. This is a crime stat system. That's another new contract. That's $34,000.
They're new because, like I said, we didn't have a server, so the only way we can extract data from our records management is through those. So if somebody asked me how many burglaries we had from January till June, the only way to do that is with Force Metrics. We've never had to have that kind of a contract before because we've always relied on the sheriff's department and had access to theirs. But being that the server is new as of January, effective as of January, that's the only way we'd be able to extract that.
How much is that one?
Chancellor, what was that? How much was that?
Uh,
Force Metrics?
Force Metrics is $34,000. The S3 is $2,700.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, sir.
So how are you doing it now, and how have you been doing
We're not.
that information?
We haven't.
How many burglaries have we had? How much crime? How are we tracking the crime that we presently have right now?
Couldn't tell you.
I mean, when I look at a report, I see a report that comes out sometime and say, well, we had 10 rapes, 10 robberies, 10 deaths. I see some kind of report that generates that. So how is that information generated now?
We're only able to pull from the actual hard copy reports, but since the server went live, we really can't pull that information.
So right now, if the server broke and went down, you just out of luck, right?
No, we'd go back to writing hard copy reports like we had to do when a sheriff kicked us off the server.
I guess the next question is, can you do without that service for 1 year since it's been a new service? That's a yes or no.
I would say no, but it's, you're gonna have a difference of opinion.
And I expect you to say no. Here you go. Because it's your department. I mean, and that's what I would do. That's what a good.
Well, we rely on stats in order to deploy resources and stuff, and without being able to obtain that information, it's very difficult to deploy resources to certain areas. That's how we focus.
Chief, are you relying on that information to make mission-critical decisions?
Well, that's how we know to concentrate certain crime initiatives in certain areas and stuff like that. That's what the heat map is for as well.
So that one's 34. What was the other one? Chancellor, what was the other one?
What was the S3 or whatever that was?
S3 was, I'll just read all of them. S3 was a heat mapping system, $2,786. Force Metrics is a crime stat system. I'll do the start dates too. Start date for S3 is 7/1/2027. Start date for Force Metrics is 7/1/2027. That's $34,000.
2027?
That's what was on the contracts. So, I mean, there might have been a typo, but what was listed in the contracts was the 2027 start date. So if it's a 2026, 2027 start date, that's July 1, that's still a contract that you don't currently have that you're proposing as a new. The PenLink software, I think that's the software program that you spoke about the last work session, that's social media intel. That contract is $57.95. There's a contract for crash diagrams, which is $8,157. And then there's another social media intel program called Scoping Now that is $12,000. And the total of those five are $62,738. Thank you.
So last time I spoke about Scope Now, the crash diagrams, that's a new vendor, but it isn't a new contract. We actually did away with our old vendor because it was almost double the price. So it's half the price of what we were paying. And what that is, we're required to respond to traffic accidents, and that's how our officers diagram the crash scenes. So without that, we wouldn't be able to complete the traffic accident crash report. We wouldn't be able to diagram accidents. So we went from, it's a new vendor, but it's not a new contract. We did away with the old contract, which was more expensive, and went to a less expensive contractor with a new vendor. And PenLink, I don't know if that was mislabeled as social media. That's not social media. That's how we correlate phone numbers to specific people. So Scope Now checks cash apps and social media sites to identify suspects. PenLink, if you put in a phone number, it connects them to suspects and connects them to different cases. But it's not social media connected. That might just, I don't know where, that's not the case.
Mayor, may I ask him?
Commissioner Hamilton?
So Chief, with all of those combined, which ones do you think that are the most critical for your department? When I looked at it, I just thought it was a large amount of money, and I just wanted to
Well,
make
we
sure
can
that
probably
you
do
have what
away
you
with the
need.
heat map. I mean, that we can compose with the other stats. But we're required to do diagrams, and those other ones are, to pull statistics from RMS. And those other ones, like I said, the crash diagram, that's a new vendor but not a new contract. And those other things our detectives use regularly. It's very difficult to investigate things because the way not only we use in technology, but the bad guys are using technology, and they hide things. And without being able to check all of those different databases and public records like that, it's very difficult to identify suspects. We just used one of those to identify somebody that committed a $190,000 fraud. So
you're saying the only thing that you don't really need is the heat map?
we can probably do without the heat map. We can probably create that manually. I'd have to check with my IT guy, but yes, I think we can probably do without that.
And, Mr. Mayor, and in this modern day time, trust me, I support the police department and all departments 100%. And safety is a priority. But sometimes we become so pro-dependent on modern day technology till we lose the ability to manage in the event of we have a blackout. And I've seen it all the time. I think those of us that served on the battlefield, we've seen it. When there was a blackout, we had to function without that stuff. And I'm saying, is there anything that we can functionality, if that happened, what would it put you at? That what is?
We'd solve a lot less crimes for the people of Hope Mills.
Hey.
I mean, that's the reality of it.
I
I mean, we cut a lot of contracts prior to these. These are just additional ones that the town manager and the finance director have identified as not mission critical. But we would have a hard time solving many more crimes that we're currently solving using those databases. So especially frauds. I mean, a lot of our folks are being victims of frauds, and they're getting their life savings and tens of thousands of dollars stolen by these people that are using these technology to rip them off. And the way to identify them is through these databases. So, I mean, that's the only risk we would have.
Go ahead. I know you go.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Just for clarity, the town manager, he said that there's dated for July 1st, 2027.
I don't know. I would have to firm that up. I don't have that in front of me, but I mean, I believe them. I don't know why that would be listed in this year's budget. I can't imagine that it wouldn't start July 1st, 2026. I think like the town manager said, that's got to be a misprint, but I can call.
That would be
I can call like immediately and figure that out.
This
Yeah.
discussion would
Yeah,
be
it's irrelevant if it
beneficial
starts
for
to
this year,
27,
right?
correct.
Thank you.
Chief, what's the amount of the one that you could not use?
Chancellor, what was that? I'm sorry.
$2,786.
Oh, okay, so that's that one. So If you take out, 2768, that leaves us I don't know. Chancellor, you said 62 and then the budget is 68.
I think she rounded up to 68, but that would add about 65,000 back to the scenario that appears to be most amenable to the board. Thank you.
And what we might be able to do for some of them, and I would have to check on what the intake is, we might be able to fund some of those with asset forfeiture.
That's my question, Chief.
But I would have to,
Knew I was coming there.
but I would have two things with that. I have to see what the money draw is in first, right? Because we have priorities, which bulletproof vest and actual computers for the officers, because as I mentioned previously on multiple occasions, a lot of the computers are not supported now with that Windows 10, so we're forced to update. And we did get a grant for some MDTs, mobile data computers, which we're using a grant to upgrade, which is good. So we'd have to handle those priorities first and then see what the intake is. But the only other thing with asset forfeiture is there's no guarantee that that money comes in again next year. So that might handle this year, but then we would have to, for some of those, not all of them, we couldn't afford all of them, but for some of those, but then we would have to revisit that again, whether or not we're able to use that again next year. But if
Can
you
we
give me
put
a
a
minute
pin?
too, I can
Can we
call
put a
somebody.
pin on 65,000? Absolutely. Until we're completely through the whole budget? Can we
And I
put a
can
pin there?
also call and get a confirmation for you on the start date of those, Ms. Page. Yeah.
Commissioner Marley?
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a statement. You know, I support the police department, I support every department, support every employee. But at this point, with this whole new proposed budget that's in front of us, I will remind the board that everything we add, we started, you said 4 cents. So everything we add is a tax increase, as far as I'm concerned, to this budget. Everything that this board adds tonight or whenever is a tax increase. So that's almost a half cent, so there's your 4.5 now. If you add the 68,000 back in for the police department. So I just want to make that statement. We can add all we want, but when we add, we got to add some more tax.
I don't
Because
think
we don't have the money.
I don't think
in
we're
hand.
adding. I think we're just gonna put a pin right there and see where we end up.
But if we do, I just want to say, you know, and I'm just speaking for me, but I think that at this point in this budget process, everything we add is a tax increase.
And that brings me back to a good reminder that each 1 penny of tax generates about 210. So, $210,000. So that's where Commissioner Marley is getting that half cent from. So,
Mayor?
and he's correct. Commissioner Hamilton?
And I agree with Commissioner Marley, but we're not done with the budget yet, so we don't know where we're going. That may not be written in stone, 4.5%, for 4.5 cents.
He was just making a observation.
I know, yeah. Yeah, I agree with what he said.
That's why I'm saying, we'll put a pin there. I mean, it's still, it'll be a relook pin at the end, because we're not completely through. And we may not get through, in fact, I'm sure we're not gonna get through before 7. So this will continue on into the regular meeting.
Chancellor, what two, so I can make a call, said started 27 you have listed?
They all indicated, they all had start dates of 2027. The
All
whole
5 of those?
point was that, all 5 of them, the whole point was that they're all appearing to be new contracts that you currently don't have. So even if they started 2026, which is July 1, going into 2027, those still are considered contracts that you don't currently have now, which is why we focused on those 5. So if you can correct or at least verify the start dates, I think you did verify one of those was a new contract that you were getting rid of an old one, but the majority of all 5 of those contracts were chosen specifically because they appear on the actual contract list to be contracts that you don't currently have. So there was a conversation about whether or not they were actually mission critical. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the police department before we go to animal control? None? Okay. Let's move on to the animals. Go ahead, Brittany.
So the animal control, you see the cost savings there from where we have, an agreement with the county to help us cost share that position. So that's what you see with the animal control. That's why it's the red.
So that's a cost savings of about 40,000. In fact, it's 40,175. So that's a pretty good deal that we've got with the county, to do some cost savings right there. Is there any questions about animal control? Everybody good? All right. Fire department's up next. At the bottom of this page and continuing on the next page.
So for the fire department, what you see is the actual one firefighter being added back. You will see some additions to the fire department's budget because the firefighter will need uniforms. He's gonna need some PPE. So that's where you see some of those changes in that budget, as well, which was also reflected in PD. I didn't go over that because we started talking about the contracts, but there was an increase there to cover, uniforms and things that the police department would need. I did, police chief did explain to me that I was able to cut down that 607 figure because the officers won't need cars because we already have those. They won't need, weapons because they'll just trade. And so I went through with him to kind of see what it would take. So, we were able to bring down that cost because we should have majority of what they need if they were to have to be reposted and rehired. So the same thing with the fire department is just, I put a little, cushion in there for bringing a fresh employee, into rehire. And like, again, I said, that was just safety equipment, PPE, fire supplies. And I also increased the fuel budget on majority of our departments that have cars. I mean, as you can see with the rising cost of fuel prices. So looking at where we are now and then where we're going throughout the year, you'll see a little bump when we get to like police and fire and inspections. Our streets, as you know, they probably have the most driving privileges throughout the town. So I did increase the fuel budgets for those departments as well.
Well, hopefully, this weekend, fuel costs will start to come down. Hopefully. But we shall see. We shall see.
So we projected that it was gonna be about $88,000 to unfreeze that firefighter position. So, I just added in probably like $1,000 cushion for uniform and supplies. Hopefully that's enough, Chief Kane.
Okay. All right, any questions on fire? Everybody good? All right, well, we got about 10 minutes. Let's see where we go. Yep, streets are next. No, inspections are next, sorry. And if you look at the inspections, you'll see that, that amount that Brittany was just talking about, increased budget to cover rising fuel prices that are in this one. But there's also a reduction to department supplies. Looks like every department so far is.
Everybody has to take a hit, unfortunately. That's just how it.
Everybody's giving up something. All right, any questions about inspections?
I have one.
Commissioner Hamilton?
I noticed on travel and training, it's at $14,000. Everybody else is being cut way back.
Well, that's because inspections, we kept, certifications in for every position that was required. So we cut any types of conferences and trainings, but our inspection department is highly certified and they have to maintain those certifications. That's what that covers for our inspection division, Chancellor, unless you wanted to add to that.
That's correct. This is the one department that their specific positions are directly mandated by the state in terms of the certifications that they have to actually keep up. And so if anything, most of our inspectors are constantly upgrading those certifications from level 1s, 2s, and 3s.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right, moving
So
on.
that's why there's no cut there. So
Nope.
we cut conferences and anything that wasn't related to a certification or some type of renewal related to the employee's job. So all of the rest of that we had to cut out.
All right, we're on the next page. We're at streets.
So for streets, you see an increase. So this goes to that 175, that's no longer valid. We actually shifted to budget to put, we didn't put them back to the general fund. We actually moved those positions to stormwater. As we compared some of their job descriptions and their duties, they're actually interdepartmental. So we were able to fund those positions through the stormwater budget, and we didn't move those back to general fund. What's in the streets budget is the POW bill positions. So we moved 3 maintenance workers out of the POW bill back into the streets budget, and that's what you see there. And then you also see, which is new, there is Ingrid secured a grant for us that has a $24,000 match. So this may be one of the last few things that she works on, but it required a cash match that we hadn't budgeted for, so I had to add that in there.
I was going to ask you about that tonight when I saw the report from Ingrid. I saw the 24,000, and I knew it wasn't in the original proposed budget.
Yes.
So you have included it here?
Yes.
Okay. And the positions that moved to stormwater, how many positions?
We moved 3. There was initially 6 that we were moving back to the general fund, but we left 3 in stormwater.
Okay. And stormwater budget can absorb all 3 positions?
Yes.
Good. Commissioner Hamilton?
Why are utilities so high? I have $230,000.
For
Streets.
street lights.
Oh, I think I asked that before, yeah. We don't have solar lights? Okay, that answers that question. Thank you.
Okay, anything else under streets? We all good with streets? All right. Next one is sanitation.
We actually might make it to the end.
Nah.
Parks and Recs is the last one. Yeah, we might make it.
All right. Anything else? Nothing on sanitation? Okay.
Sanitation, you just see a negative, positive, $1,000. I was like, do you need department supplies or do you need possibly more fuel? So I put more money to refuel, but still decrease department supplies just in case, they needed it.
All right, let's get into the first part of Parks and Rec, which is at the very bottom of that page into the next page. That starts it off. And you can see several reductions per the director. 10,000 reduction, and then there's another 1,000 reduction to departmental supplies. So that's 11,000 that Lamarco has already chipped in. But that's subject to any questions the board may have. Just on the first part, not programs. We'll get to programs. Seeing no questions? Okay, no, just take your time. Okay,
Let's see if I'm on the right one before I pass this one. No, that was under, I'm sorry, that was under, expenditures, Parks and Recreation. Let's see, Old Mill Day, $5,000. I thought they weren't doing that anymore. That's what the Police Foundation is doing, right?
Are we still, we're still under just the general parks and, have we made it to programs and
Under
events?
Program and events, the expenditures.
we're in the first part. We're not in program yet.
Okay. I was jumping ahead. Well, I see sanitation, I see program events, and it goes on down to Old Mill Day. It's under program events expenditures. Old Mill Day, $5,000. Right here.
So Old Mills Day is on there, it's just up under the next section of program and events. Lamarck, are we still, do you know?
No, this is where sanitation, Parks and Recreation.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I'm ahead, all right.
You're ahead, aren't you?
I always get ahead.
Yeah. She's ahead, wait, hold on.
I'm ahead one, I'm sorry.
okay.
Okay, so before we get to programs, is there any questions about the topic? Now, each of you has a letter from the VFW Post Commander, Bill Green, who is sitting here. I'll make sure, I think everybody got this letter. I'll make sure I printed out a copy for every board member. Because the VFW Post 10630 respectfully submits this memorandum to request $5,000 in funding assistance from the town of Oakland to address the shortages of meeting space in the community by allowing 4 committees: the Homeless Advisory, Cultural Arts, Parents, and Veterans Affairs. Also, the Post assist the Parks and Rec Senior Citizens Program with the bingo program at VFW. So this is an additional request from our local Veterans Farm Work Post on Davis Street in the amount of $5,000. So that's going to have to go in somewhere in this budget for consideration. So we'll just start it right here at the very top before we even get into programs, which we may have to come back to in the regular meeting.
So I'll sit it over with the 68K from the police department. We'll just add to that list.
Well, what's the thought of the board? Do you want me to, I'll put it down as a pen. I mean, what's the thought of the board?
Mayor.
Both of them are here. Commissioner Marley?
I think that, you know, if we're using the facility, we shouldn't expect it for free. We shouldn't expect any facility that we use space in or whatever to be used for free. I will say that, I attended the HPC meeting at Parks and Rec the other night. They had a room for us, aside, but with the gym and the amount of traffic that was in and out of that building, it wasn't very good as a meeting space. It was hard to conduct a meeting in there. There was events going on in every room. That building was full, Lamarco. I mean, it was full, and this was at like 6:30 or, 6, 7 o'clock at night. So I will say that, but I don't think as the town, we should expect to use the facility and not at least pay something.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. So if that's a request, my recommendation would be to add it with the other committees, $1,250. However, if we have a facility that's free, even though it's noisy, considering it's a rec center, then my recommendation would be to use a free facility. I do know over at the historic church, they play bingo. So I'm not sure if that's the same bingo committee the same bingo that's playing there or the one at the church. But if that is going to be a request for use of the building, I would recommend to find a free location, or they be added to the $1,250 like every other committee.
Well, Mayor Pro Tem, it would be a lease agreement. So that's why it's in Parks and Rec, because it wouldn't be a committee, it would be a lease agreement that we would have, but, you know, it's 6:52, I'm gonna put a pin in the 5,000, I'm gonna stop here. We will adjourn this meeting, and then we will pick back up at programs on item D in the 7 o'clock regular. The two commanders are here from the VFW during the break. If any board member would like to get further clarification from the post commanders, they're both sitting right out in the audience. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, our 5:30 special budget workshop meeting number 5 is officially adjourned.